Hey everybody, it's Kinda Burnt. I'm Kinda Burnt. Trying something a little different today. Haven't done a video like this before. I'm gonna test it out, see how I like it. Maybe in the future I'll do more videos like this. There's a lot about this format that I like, but we'll see how much I like it in actual practice. For those of you who don't know, the second trailer, the official trailer, rather, of the new Super Mario Bros. Movie dropped yesterday. And yet again, I failed to do a proper reaction video in the moment. It just kind of slipped my mind. So I figured I'd follow up with my thoughts on it after having watched it and the original trailer like 1,000 times at this point. I will say, now that I've seen both trailers back to back and sort of have a better idea of what this movie is going to be, the reality of the situation is settling in, and it's not that I'm disappointed. And it's not that I don't like what I'm seeing. I'm actually still very excited for this movie. Because it's odd seeing that Nintendo is at a point now where they're actually serious about doing movies with their IPs again. So I can't help but take it a little bit seriously and sort of feel like I should take it seriously. Like, it's something I never expected them to do again. And I am personally excited at the prospects of this and anything that might come after. But having said that, I feel like now that the newness of the teaser trailer has worn off, the reality of what this movie is going to be is sort of starting to solidify. With the teaser trailer, we didn't really know what we were going to get. It could have been anything. And to be honest, I expected, well, not what we got. I was very pleasantly surprised. I was very happy with what I saw. It was such a relief seeing that Illumination had done such a good job with the character designs, world building, and rendering this world in this very colorful, beautiful way. But I was also pleasantly surprised with the music choices, and it was just nice. It was a nice package, and having come off the sort of high of that trailer, I'm starting to see now more what this movie is probably going to be. The second trailer gives us a better idea of what the world is going to be, what the story is going to be. It shows off more of the characters, like Charlie Day as Luigi and Anya Taylor-Joy as Peach. We get a little bit more of Bowser, Jack Black, and a little bit more of Toad, Keegan-Michael Key, and that's all great. But I'm starting to see now that this really is probably going to be what you expect from an Illumination movie, at least as far as writing is concerned. And not to be a snob, not to be hoity-toity or look down my nose at anybody, but it could be better. A lot of the jokes that they're using, a lot of the way everything is put together, comedy-wise, writing-wise, it's not going to win any awards. And maybe that's not fair of me to expect, but I do tend to expect a little bit more because I know it can be achieved at this point. And I think that's part of the, I don't want to call it disappointment, but there is a preconceived notion, I think, of what I want this movie to be and what it's going to be. And that's really my own fault for getting there. I will say, though, that I felt like when Nintendo first announced the voice cast for this movie, there was a certain self-awareness of who they chose and how honestly crazy those choices were that seemed to speak to this self-awareness. I don't know what else I could call it. Like, it felt like these filmmakers had knowingly made a lot of crazy decisions that no one expected. And because of that, I think I was expecting something that maybe was a little tongue-in-cheek, something that was a little more meta, self-aware, having fun, maybe even at the expense of the world of Super Mario Bros. And doing interesting, sort of silly stuff with it. I'll be honest with you, I feel like what I expected was something along the lines of the Lego movie or the Lego Batman movie. Both of those movies in particular, they're better than they have any right to be. They take some pretty silly premises and then they just knock them out of the park. And I think it's because they lean so heavily into the silly idea, knowing it's a silly idea. And because of that, there's a certain confidence in the film, in both films, that comes through that makes them more enjoyable, at least to me. They're more sincere, and they're even capable of having these poignant things to say, and even sort of tug at your heartstrings every now and then. It was very surprising, for example, to see the Lego movie makes such salient points about childhood and about having fun and about limiting yourself, and also the Lego Batman movie having something poignant to say about family and found families, but also accepting help and not pushing people away and going solo, and also just being one of the best Batman movies ever. I don't care what anyone says, I will die on that hill. So having gotten two offerings like that, and knowing that it's possible to have an animated film built on a silly idea and still is able to pull off stuff like that, I feel like I'm not unreasonable in expecting that to be something that we get, but I'm starting to realize that's probably not what we're going to get. And maybe it wasn't fair of me to think of that in the first place. People may disagree. People may think that both of these trailers sort of smack of that. Maybe they're right. I do feel like there is a lot of care and there's a lot of knowledge from the previous games and a lot of iterations of Mario himself present in these two trailers. I mean, who expected Mario Kart? That was out of left field. I didn't expect it, and it was a pleasant surprise. But I don't know how much hope I have for the writing in this movie. Again, I can't really blame it. I can't really demonize it. It's going to be for a certain audience, probably a lot younger than me, even though a lot of the people who are going to go to see this movie, I expect, are going to be in my age bracket and grew up playing these games from the very beginning. And I hope that there's a mindfulness there for people like 20, 30, 40-year-olds that they can get behind, and it's not simply just Minions but with toads, which is, I think, a lot of people were afraid of in the beginning. But I think the trailers have done enough to assuage those kinds of fears. I expect this to be probably, I don't know, a low B, maybe a C effort. It's probably not going to be an A. And I don't want to make those assumptions right out of the gate, but this second trailer hasn't exactly sold me on this idea it's going to be anything else other than that. So just a few things off the top of my head. I could talk about other things. I could talk about like the world building and the monsters and the seeing the Yoshis and all this other stuff, and I feel like I could, but I'm not going to. I feel like people have already said it a million times before better than me, so there's really no point. I did want to speak on the voices a little bit, though. I know that was one of the big things with the original teaser trailer, and I know that certain tempers have not alleviated or gone down since then, and for better or worse, good or bad, I feel like people deserve to feel however they need to feel, but I've heard more of Mario at this point. I've heard more of Chris Pratt. I do understand how some people feel. I watch the YouTuber Arlo a lot, and his take is that Chris Pratt's depiction of Mario is very flat and very unenthusiastic. And I sort of agree. I sort of see where he's coming from. And I'm wondering if maybe the sentiment going into this movie was to make him understated. I don't know the best way to put this exactly. We all love Charles Martinet. We all love the way he depicts Mario in the games. But those are sound bites. And honestly, I feel like if we had gotten a Charles Martinet or Charles Martinet inspired depiction of Mario the entire movie for like an hour and a half, it probably would have grated on our nerves. And we can agree to disagree. But also, more to the point, I think there was a serious sort of push away from negatively depicting Italian accents as stereotypes in this movie, and I think that was probably the best choice, but the sad thing about that is no one really wins, do they? A lot of people are expecting one depiction, and they're not going to get the one that they want, and no one is really going to be pleased. And the elephant in the room is that it's Chris Pratt, and that right now Chris Pratt is in a sort of tenuous point in his overall Hollywood career. People, by and large, are mad at him, don't like him, are picking him apart, and I can't say that I don't disagree with some of these sentiments. I do agree with some of these sentiments, but I don't know. Honestly, it's not a make or break for me, and I still don't think that we've seen enough to really judge it one way or the other. If Mario and Luigi are going to come into this with a Brooklyn-style Italian accent, I'm okay with that, as long as they can pull it off. Having said that, Charlie Day sounds like Charlie Day. Luigi just sounds like Charlie Day. Charlie Day doesn't even seem to have an accent, and that's not a deal breaker for me. I like Charlie Day, so it's not going to bother me to hear Charlie Day the entire movie. I think it's a very similar argument to, I believe Charles Martinet does the voice of Luigi in the games too. I don't know that necessarily we could have handled an hour and a half depiction of Luigi like we've seen in the games, but then people are going to argue like, well, Charlie Day's voice, it gets in the same register, or it's sort of high-pitched, and a lot of people don't want to hear that an entire hour and a half, and we could argue about that all day. Anya Taylor-Joy as Peach, it's basically what I expected. Anya Taylor-Joy with an American accent. And honestly, I think that's probably going to work in Peach's favor, in the movie's favor, because, let's face it, the way that Peach is depicted in the games, that really high register, I don't know that we could have handled that either for an hour and a half. So, now, there are a couple of moments in the trailer where she does sort of emulate it, especially at the beginning, in the Kong section, but overall, it's much more muted, much more normal sounding. But the sad thing is, I kind of feel like they could have put anyone in that role. Nothing against Anya Taylor-Joy, she's a great actress, and I'm sure she brings a lot of that to the table, but I don't know. I don't know that we're going to be getting anything noteworthy from that performance, or any performance, really. Maybe Jack Black. Jack Black seems to have been born to play Bowser. He seems to be doing the most work. And most people are praising him because they're like, oh, well, he's the only voice actor. And that's not true at all. That's not true at all. There's a lot of people in this movie that have done traditional work as voice actors. Keegan-Michael Key and Kevin Michael Richardson and Fred Armisen. It's just, people are just picking and choosing. So, having said all of that, I'm still mildly excited about this movie. I'm still looking forward to it. I'm still really happy. I think that people should be excited. I am excited, but I feel it's going to be an Illumination movie. Nothing against Illumination, but there's a certain amount of quality that I expect from them. So, I'm just going to temper my expectations a little bit and hope for the best. So, if they surprise me with some sort of poignant moment or theme or commentary or something in this movie, which probably too much to ask for a Mario movie, I will be pleasantly surprised. I will say, however, that there is one moment in the trailer that really grabs me a little bit, and it's completely subjective, because when Mario is trying to get to Luigi in one of the warp pipe things and they grab hands, it's weirdly resonant with me because it reminds me how much I value my brother, and it's really cool to just kind of see that element make it into the trailer, no matter if it's small or meaningless. It was just kind of nice. That's probably all I have to look forward to. We will see. I don't want to write this movie off. I don't want to just assume that it's going to be bad. It probably won't be. But Illumination has yet to really impress me, so we'll see. Anyway, that's it for now. I will see you guys later. Burn out.